transformation that we did in the company in the past few months. So exactly right, new tech now enables new possibilities. And we felt like now we have a lot of open, blank canvases, and we get to be creative about what we build next, because the ceiling just got pushed much higher. And we should be imaginative, and we really did that. So the first thing we thought of is this product called Topsort. And it is essentially when we zoomed out from the world of ads or technology as it is today, and we started thinking about like, what does it look like right now? There's ad platform, there's an ad server, there are DSPs, there's all these different components to it, right? Like we talked about earlier. But it felt like a lot of times we're kind of touching on the surface area, and we're really not going very deep into the core of the problem. And then there's no one that really kind of commoditized like the true core functionalities and the intelligent layer that makes the system work and scale. And that's what we did. So when we talk to retailers into the second phase of the retail media networks, which is also the point in time that we're in. I remember a couple years ago there was like this sort of a lot of talks around retail media has crossed the chasm, right? And now it's kind of really in this early majority, late majority problem. But then if we look at the bulk and the majorities, it really looks like this, which is you have a lot of retail media networks, and it's very taxing. Like we were talking about in the earlier chat, that there's a lot of fragmentation, and it's very difficult for each of those to connect with each other, to communicate with each other, and the scale of the entire industry gets a little bit suffocated or bottlenecked, or just there are a lot of problems and we have to throw a lot of manpower to it. We could scale quicker, right? And can those problems be solved with technology? And that's what we believe that you can. And so when we look at those, a lot of times these guys in the middle of this sort of curve are really thinking about how do we go bigger, more efficient, we can get better margin, now we need to make more intelligent decisions. It's sort of like a little bit like the chapter after the Wild West where you can just enable more placement and do more things, and of course, like let's just add offsite or channels, like you make more money. It requires a level of sophistication, and also you need to finesse a very sort of big ship system to the point that you're not necessarily hurting the revenue you're making right now as well. So optimization is actually, in our opinion, very hot, right? So you can actually like really look at not just checking the boxes, but now after you've checked a lot of the boxes, can you do it better? And how good is good enough? So that's what we also think is really the question that started this product. So when we talk to a lot of retailers in the second phase of the retail media networks, a lot of times they're saying, hey, it's not even about building in-house or not, it's really already built and it's functional. We did it with what we had at the time and it works and it's what we knew the best back then. And then of course there are first mover advantages and things like that. And then and there are other things like, you know, certain high leverage key components that are very difficult to build, right? It's time consuming, expensive, and once you build it, within the scale of one retailer, it could sometimes be very much under-optimized and underutilized as well. So how do you scale with caution and with precision as we enter this sort of second phase of retail media? So when we think about the products we have, we really feel like over the past few years, we were really perfecting these two. We did the platform with the full UI, there's the managed service, there's self-service, there are all these different user flows and things that exist in the product. And then we also have like 12 APIs that allow you to kind of customize, build it in-house, modularize the entire offering. But really we felt like something was missing. It still was preventing us from getting to the core of the problem and what we know works. And if there's a way that we can kind of provide what's useful without having to tell the retailers, you have to unplug your entire system that's sort of working, but really let's just make it something that can push you to the next level without having to cause too much disruption in the current business. So that's why we added ad intelligence as its own layer. We completely decoupled the data science, the AI functionalities of Topsort into its own separate offering, and then made it very modular with different endpoints, different parts of the products to make it where you can have quality score on demand, relevancy, and prediction, and really being able to kind of have this sit on top of any existing ad platform infrastructure, be it in-house or another vendor, and be able to sort of drive incremental lift from there. So that's what it is. It's an AI-powered ad intelligence suite that has many components, it's a toolkit that helps supercharge retail media networks. Topsort does give you the best of both worlds opportunities to pick and choose key high leverage components where we can actually give you the sort of optimized state-of-the-art solution and relying on first-party in-house components as needed as well. So it's really a blend in that sense. And then now I will turn the mic over to my colleague, Lars.
Thank you. Let's see if So I want to paint the picture of art versus science and technology. And it's not to denigrate smaller companies with less resources or anything. But I've seen a lot of approaches in my 20 years in ad tech where companies are kind of trying to have, make improvements in complicated technologies without necessarily having tons of resources, tons of time, tons of money to put into it. We at Topsort envision a world where everyone can have access to the science in advertising technology. Everyone can have access to efficiency, optimizing advertiser value, user experience, and monetization in a way that aligns with the best companies in the industry. There used to be a time when marketplaces had to choose. They could make a choice of outsourcing their ad platform, but often they want more control. They want more control over their systems, the performance, the development timelines. So alternatively, they could build it in-house. But building in-house is very time-consuming, very expensive, takes a lot of resources, and often takes specialized talent that is very hard to get in today's marketplace. And it's also a matter of reinventing the wheel, like starting from scratch, big research initiatives for problem areas that have already been solved by the large tech companies. There is a better way. Now, Topsort is opening up their state-of-the-art ad server and advertising systems in order to allow access to individualized high-leverage components to enable any marketplace that want to rely on some in-house technology to give them access to best-in-class machine learning models, bidding models, forecasting, experimentation, retrieval, etc., etc. These are all high leverage components which give outsized return, but are very, very hard and expensive to do in-house. This enables the opportunity to have the best of both worlds. You can keep the components you would like to control in-house while accessing the best components in the world for machine learning, etc. I'm going to go through, and my colleague Baltasar will help as well. I'm going to go through some of these components in more detail, starting with bidder in a box. Bidding is one of the hardest things to build. It's very time consuming, it's complicated, it requires sophisticated machine learning models, it requires control systems, it requires a very good approach to system design in order to optimize budgets, optimize spend, and maximize GMV for advertisers. If you don't if you don't have a good bidding system, well, a lot of first-party systems still rely on static CPCs, which is very complicated from an advertiser perspective. It's very inefficient from a marketplace perspective, and it leads to not so good outcomes, both with regards to relevance of ads, as well as value to advertisers. We enable access to what we call bidder in the box, because we think it's a cool name. But essentially, we use user interactions, contextual data, everything we know about campaign status, in order to enable automated bidding, automated goal-based bidding, target ROAS, CPA, any type of goals that you want to implement. And with this, you will not only get more value out of your ad campaigns, higher return on ad spend, higher GMV for your advertisers, more revenues. You also have a system that's much easier to use for advertisers. And you will get higher adoption, higher penetration, more usage, because it takes the guesswork out of advertising. Your advertisers don't have to guess what the right CPC would be in order to achieve the results that they want, and keep updating as systems, operating points changes. This makes the system predictable, easy to use, and very, very efficient. Moving on. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly how this slide's built, but maybe I'll just build the whole slide. Relevance and personalized quality scores. Quality scores is one of the highest leverage components with regards to driving revenue and engagement. Nevertheless, a lot of the systems I've seen in my time in advertising relies on very, very simplistic heuristics with quality score multiplied by the bid, and some kind of strange magic to tune it in order to get the results that the platform would like to see. It's not well, first of all, that is not the best approach to begin with. Secondly, it's very hard to create highly optimized machine learning models that are needed for these kinds of systems. And it's one of those things that I mentioned earlier where it's like, okay, it's to some extent it's a solved problem, or at least there's a state-of-the-art solution. It always evolves, and there's always a lot of development that goes into it. It's very expensive to keep up, and again, you need specialized people. Access to machine learning talent is probably one of the hardest competitions for talent in the Valley and in the world. So supplementing your in-house system with Topsort's state-of-the-art, best-in-class machine learning models for relevance and personalized quality is one of the highest payoff investments you can do. Some of the benefits listed here, you will see increased relevancy and user engagement. You will see increased revenues. You will see more efficient use of ad space. We have some technical details here that you can read. Very, very low latency models with very, very high performance. On the retrieval side, in my experience, improving your retrieval systems or augmenting your current retrieval systems are one of the highest reward things you can do with regards to increasing monetization. I'm talking a lot about advertiser value. I'm talking a lot about user engagement. Augmenting retrieval is very, very important to just getting higher fill rates and more competition in your auction. A lot of existing systems rely on a kind of like an Elasticsearch, maybe also outsourced Elasticsearch component, often run by the organic organic team or the commercial team, and often doesn't even have a dedicated ad index. This results in very, very shallow search space, and you only return a small fraction of the ads that are relevant to the user. By using Topsort's retrieval system, which work we basically have two different retrieval systems. One is a recommendation system that is used for non-search contexts, that works by analyzing user engagement, what is likely to be clicked on and what is likely to be purchased given the product context of the page. And then the other one, which we use in a search context, is semantic retrieval, which uses state-of-the-art, latest technology, vector embeddings, in order to find and retrieve ads that are relevant to the user based on the semantic intent, not just matching word by word, but looking at the semantic intent of the search query. You can use this either to replace or to augment your current retrieval system. You don't need to replace it. This will just get additional ads into the auction, increasing your fill rate, increasing your CPCs, increasing competition in the auction, and increasing monetization. My favorite, ranking. This is the place where your system should optimize for long-term profitability of your entire business. This is the place where you trade off ad revenue, organic sales, and long-term impact of user engagement. Most first-party systems, and even, I would say, most third-party systems, Topsort might be one of the few dedicated ad platforms that actually do this right. But most of the systems don't really do much of this. It's basically just a heuristic with using some of the components we talked about previously, like quality component, bid, tweak the formula in a way where the result kind of looks okay, without really the scientific approach of building a ranking function from first principles. We really want to go from the art world to the science world here, where it's done right. This is also one of the things which is the sole problem. There's a way to do this, and doing it right benefits the long-term profitability of the company. This essentially pushes the efficient frontier for what kind of trade-off you can have between user engagement, revenue, and organic sales. So it's a huge win. It's a huge opportunity to use something like this. So this is basically a way that you can improve most of your metrics, like advertiser value, user engagement, revenue, as well as organic engagement or organic sales. Now I think I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Balthazar. Thank you.
So right now we work with very, very big clients, and they all have very successful ad businesses, right? And because of that, it's very hard for them to test new hypotheses or new changes in their platforms, because the impact on the revenue can be very, very big. And that's why we decided to build an experimentation framework that our clients can use to test different things. You can test UI adjustments on your side, you can choose different ML models for calculating your quality scores, you can use different pacing algorithms and retrieval strategies. How does it work? Well, setting up an experiment is really, really easy. First thing you need to do is define an experiment and its variance. Then you decide what kind of change each variant is going to be exposed to. And then you can decide to split your traffic yourself and send the variant ID on the auction request, or you can tell Topsort to split the traffic for you. Then, after some time, we'll provide metrics overall metrics at a marketplace level, and the ad requests, impressions, clicks, sales, ROAS, and conversions across these different variants, so you can compare them and decide if it's optimal to promote these groups or not. This has several benefits. First of all, you can reduce your risk on testing these new hypotheses or strategies. You can optimize your system in a transparent and controlled way. And you can also run multiple experiments at the same time. So you don't have to wait a long time until you reach the optimal options for you. Well, we have been testing this with a few clients, and one really good example about this is Poshmark has run over 25 experiments over the last months, and it has seen an increase in ROAS of over 30%. So another pain point that we have seen in ad ops teams and also among our advertisers is that they don't know what to expect when setting up a campaign. Especially for long-tail advertisers, they often ask questions like, what if I select these products instead of these other products? What if I change the target ROAS? What if I change the targeting strategy, right? So that's why we have developed an endpoint that can forecast the performance of a campaign given a campaign configuration. So essentially how it works is that you choose products or assets, you select your auto payment strategy or manual bids, and then you set up your budget type, your budget amount, your targeting, and your duration. And with that, we can provide an estimate of impressions, clicks, conversions, sales, and ROAS for that specific campaign. Then the advertiser or the ad ops team can play with these parameters to know and to get exactly what they want to accomplish from their campaigns. This allows advertisers to have an optimized budget allocations to just focus on those placements or in those campaigns that are going to provide the best for their objectives. Also, it helps set realistic expectations for each party. And finally, it reduces the risk of underperforming campaigns and wasted ad spend. We also wanted to take these forecasting capabilities one step further and also help the ad ops team when controlling the inventory. And we believe that right now, there are not a lot of tools to know like how efficient is the inventory planning and the demand distribution across the marketplace ad placements. That's why we created another forecasting endpoint, which is called inventory forecasting, that essentially, given historical information like ad requests and user interactions, can you provide full funnel metrics, both historically and for the next 14 days in the future. What kind of measures can you provide? Well, ad requests, winners requested, winners obtained, impressions, clicks, conversions, average CTR, average CPC, and with all that information, we can compute a total capacity for each one of your placements. And also, we can show you how historically you have fulfilled those placements, so you can essentially know how to distribute or how you can draw your advertisers' demand into the right places so you can get the best performance for them as well. This has several benefits like increase the ad sales, so you know that all the money that is going to be spent. Also, it reduces the risk of overbooking or underutilizing inventory, and also improves the financial planning for your internal ad sales teams. We've seen in the market that this increased fill rates by at least 10%, and it can really boost revenue over 15 to 20%. Finally, again, we have been working with very, very successful ad businesses and very big companies, and they always start with one ad format, but they start transitioning from sponsor listings to banners to in-store to offsite, and they start different things, and they often use multiple different platforms to manage all these campaigns. So publishers lack of a unified view of their inventory and all of the user interactions, and also they see duplicate attribution because each of these separate platforms, they're not aware of what's going on with the different platforms, so they attribute all the purchases to themselves. On the other hand, advertisers, they don't get a holistic view of all their campaigns, and they cannot optimize across these ad formats, channels, or properties according to their objectives. So that's why we have extended our events API to be able to receive sponsored events from other ad servers, organic events, and events from other channels and formats, so we can show everything in a single view in one place when it comes to user interactions. Also, in this case, our clients get access to aggregated data and granular data that they can dive deep into. And also, Topsort uses its own attribution models to run attribution and understand the interactions that drove each purchases. Some of the benefits are around like redirect spending to the best performing channels and formats, also streamlined data management from different platforms, actually properly credit conversion to the right touch points, which is a big issue in the current ecosystem, and finally increase transparency in reporting and build trust with advertisers. Now I'll pass it back to G.
Awesome. So the second product in the jellyfish life cycle, it's called Topi. And so what is Topi, right? One thing that we noticed is that when we talk to a lot of different retailers, sales teams, commercial leaders, it seems that everybody has a secret. And what is it? You know, what are the fill rates, right? We talk to and we work with some of the largest retail media networks. And when we look at their numbers, sometimes even it goes up and down, of course, but like you have some categories that are very low fill rates in search keywords or placements, which just means the budgets and like the commercial opportunities are not really evenly allocated or optimally like allocated in a way. And oftentimes it's actually under half from what we've seen. So then we really wanted to see, knowing the industry has this pain point around fragmentation, how can we build a way that unify and connect retail media networks that today are very, very much fragmented. And it really started, this product, the journey of us building this product really started with us working with one retailer. And they own one of my favorite grocery stores in New England. So it's called Cencosud. They actually, so it's the largest grocer in Latin America. They also own a fresh market, which is like a pretty nice grocery store on the East Coast. And then it has a problem that a lot of retail holding groups would have, right? They go throughout the years, they buy certain properties, they own some subsidiaries, or they have several stores that are catered to different types of demographics, and also in different countries, in some regions as well. So then it really, one decision they had to make is like, does the media brand stand as a united umbrella that sort of like goes above all the retailer brands? And the answer was yes, they wanted to make it a Senko Media and just like one media offering. And then that means like the ad system needs to be able to connect a lot of different systems that today really don't speak to each other, including the teams as well. And then we then built a tool for them that actually allowed them to, both from internal team members and also self-service, to kind of buy and activate campaigns across different properties under them. And then what that means is that we have to do several layers of standardization. One is attribution, right? If things are not measured in the same way, it's very hard to say if it works or not, so that's the first thing we did. The second is actually catalog. We also had to kind of standardize the catalog across different properties, especially when you have 3P sellers. It can get very hairy because there's an incentive to not label things correctly sometimes, or you know, people don't know how to, or like you end up with a bunch of products in your catalog and you're like, this doesn't exist. Like there's no, you know, 303 milliliters of like Coca-Cola bottles, right? And then we also then sort of thought about audience standardization as well. So from all these different layers, we ended up having the first version of what we call Topi, which is a way to buy across different media networks. And that's the demo of that, actually, yeah. So why don't I just do this together then? Maybe play that.
Yeah, so here we're going to show very quickly how the campaign creation flow for agencies and brands works. So As Regina was saying, the first part is standardizing the catalog, and they will have here access to all the products that they can sponsor across the different properties and retailers that Topsort is connected to. Then the second step of the process is choosing a bid list or automating a strategy that essentially tunes up the level of exposure that these campaigns are gonna use. And finally, the user can add the final configuration for the campaign, including a campaign name, a budget, which can be daily, weekly, or monthly, also a budget amount, and the duration of the campaign. The duration of the campaign can have a set start and end date, or it can be ongoing until post. Once the campaign is created, you will be able to see the metrics in real time, both at a campaign level and at a product level. Some of the metrics available, of course, are ad spend, impressions, clicks, CPC, CTR, and others. And in a matter of seconds, you will be able to start seeing all these sponsored listings appearing in different retailers and see all the interactions you're getting within one platform with comparable metrics and attribution right there.
So we went to the market and we talked to a few agencies and brands, and we wanted to get their reactions, right? So here are some sort of quotes, or I always find real users of the product just end up describing it way better than what we can think of. So we chose Topsort as, here's Kinesso, right, which is part of IPG, a marketing agency. We chose Topsort as a technology to power commerce by Kinesso because we saw the power of optimization throughout the inventory since from the get-go. One of our main brands, Unilever, has never seen higher ROAS across retail media, which today I think Kinesso operates around 12 retail media networks with us through sort of this Topi interface. And then Sanofi as well. We need a solution like Topi to centralize budgets and unify metrics, enabling us to unlock greater business opportunities and drive scalable growth. Another one is Publicis. By adopting Topi, we gained a centralized platform to consolidate all campaign information and data in one place. This enabled our teams to make rapid decisions and execute optimizations, leading to improved campaign results and enhanced ROI. There's still definitely a long way to go, but I think we're very excited to see that at least we're beginning to kind of head in the right direction or make some efforts around especially uniting the long tail of the market, or kind of offering at least an option for media agencies and brands to be able to buy across a very fragmented industry, and sort of trying to help increase some fill rates and act as a bit of a balance to the different approaches that are out there as well. Awesome. My favorite demo of today, so this is in-store because it's really cool, is where things go 3D. We actually have like an interactive part at the end as well. So in-store journey. Retailers actually already sit on a lot of data. And for this product, we actually did not collect any new data ourselves. And we sort of just said, you know what, now there's AI and there's data that didn't make sense before. We can now make sense with data that has always been around. So then the question became, how can we really make sense of the data that's there? And when a lot of retailers have the majority of their sales and customer interactions happen in the stores, in the brick and mortar, what does it mean that we are bringing physical retail into the fold of retail media? And we have Gabrielle from our data science team to walk you through that.
Yeah, so as Regina was mentioning, retailers are already sitting on a lot of data, which kind of sounds a mission for data scientists, right? And by a lot of data, we mean a lot of data. So for example, we have beacon data. Those are basically, they find Bluetooth, they link to Bluetooth in your phones, basically to track where you are, whether you are close to a product, what's your trajectory throughout the store, and so on. We have router data. If you connect to a wireless network, for example, retailers can know what your preferences are, also where you are in the store and things like that. Some stores even have infrared data, which basically allows them to know which areas are like hotspots where people gather, allowing them to place, to optimally place ads like around the store. And finally, of course, there's foot traffic information, which it can be used to track where users are in the store, what their trajectory is from where they enter the store to the point of sale. So the point here is that there is a lot of data at our disposal, but currently what we found out is that retailers are not really using it in an integrated way that allows them to create very personalized ads that are optimal for a given situation, for a given context, for a given place, time, demographic, and so on. We want to change that. So imagine merging the physical world into digital. In the physical world, of course, we have physical attributes, like let's say we have demographics, we have foot traffic, we have all kinds of features that are specific to whatever is happening in the store at the moment. And thanks to technology and thanks to AI, we can just take that information and make it digital. We can just say, okay, well, there's a group of people, there's 5 people here, they're watching this ad, they are of a specific demographic, they have interacted with a couple of products earlier, so there's a lot of features that we can extract. And also we have the digital world, which is basically what you've already experienced at Topsort. So anything that has to do with using information like context to resolve an auction. So the idea here is that we will take all of the features that we can extract using the sensor information that we were discussing earlier and using also more advanced AI techniques like computer vision, and take that information to provide rich context for an auction, resulting in a much better ad experience. Now, how do we achieve this? Or how does AI actually unlock? What does AI unlock for this in-store experience? So we envision AI being present on different stages along this process. So first, as I was mentioning, we use it to collect features. So each context situation will have a specific set of features that can be captured by these sensors. By using AI and computer vision, we can extract anonymized demographics. We can see whether a user is looking at an ad or is just present in the area where an ad is being shown. And once we have a good understanding of what the context is, then we can have a much better auction, a much better resolution for the auction that shows the specific ad that maximizes our revenue. Now this involves a couple of steps, and I'm just gonna go into a little bit more into detail into what these 3 steps are in the process that we're envisioning. So first is to use AI to visualize what's happening in your surrounding area. We use, let's say, computer vision and also other techniques to capture IAB compliant audience metrics, such as like age, demographic groups, but also like where you are in the store, what products you've interacted with, and so on. And then we create these presence events. And a presence event is just very similar to what you've been used to, you have already been used to in the digital marketplace, where a presence event is sort of like an impression. It's like you're here, therefore you're exposed to this ad. Then you look at the ad, then that's kind of similar to a click, right? But yeah, and so basically we leverage the existing available hardware whenever possible. It's like, if you don't have, let's say, Bluetooth data, then it's okay. We can use infrared data if you have infrared data, and so on. Like, we can capture as much content as possible. It doesn't, but we don't really rely on a particular technology to do this. The second step, which is a little bit more complex, is the attribution. So here we envision kind of like 2 ways in which we would take the information that we know and say, okay, like this user is probably, was exposed to this ad and probably bought this product because of the ad they saw. That is something that can be done by, for example, keeping track of like opaque user ID, because we don't track users, we track users, but not really identify them. They go through the store, they go to the point of sale, so we know that the user is in the point of sale, and we also know that a sale occurred for a given product, and that user was exposed to that ad. So that's one way we can get attribution. But more importantly, we have a stream of events that are given, like that go into the Topsort system, and then we use advanced machine learning algorithm basically to compute the attribution of all of the promoted sales for a given group of users that were exposed to a particular ad. Finally, and this is like a little bit more exciting and also very novel in the industry, is the prediction part. So usually what the industry standard right now is to create ads that are basically reactive to what's happening. But we want to do better than that. We want to do we want to create a proactive approach where we take in all of the data that we have gathered so far. So all of the features that I was mentioning earlier, but also all of the views, all of the purchases, all the attributions, and so on. And the idea is to use basically machine learning to identify patterns in the data so that we can later predict or at least have a sense of what ad to show at what specific time, at what location, and under what demographic. So that allows for a lot of planning, which opens up a lot of opportunities. And for that, of course, we will include a lot of different visualization types that will show all of this information at a glance for, all of this information. And what's the best part of this whole thing is that you can do this completely in a non-creepy way. Like we at Topsort, we really believe that we should not be, creepy, in the sense that, we don't want to track users. We want to be able to identify what a user's preference is likely, what it's likely to be, but not, know exactly that, hey, that's Gabriel.